I just feel really sad for the monarchy at times because I know that's what Meghan has in her sights to do things to people like Catherine.
Stephen Colbert's Late Show is finished. CBS has now been taken over by the Ellison family, and the entire vibe inside the network has shifted fast. CBS News is now being shaped under the influence of Bari Weiss and the Free Press, which completely changes the media climate that once worked in Harry and Meghan's favor.
Between a woman who is genuinely interested and compassionate towards others, and then there's a fraud who is only interested in monetizing the pain and the grief of others. So often when you juxtapose side by side Meghan Markle and Catherine, the Princess of Wales.
For years, the Sussex household benefited from a broadcasting system that gave them soft coverage, friendly interviews, and supportive framing. But now, that system is getting ripped apart piece by piece. Meghan Markle's recent decision to publicly distance herself from NBC is starting to look like a massive strategic mistake, because NBC was one of the few major networks still naturally aligned with the couple's progressive public image and messaging. That move may have looked bold at first, but the timing could not be worse. CBS, the same network that aired the explosive 2021 Oprah Winfrey interview, is no longer the safe media space it once was for the Sussex brand. Back then, the network environment gave Harry and Meghan room to control the narrative and shape public sympathy in America. That protection shield now looks seriously weakened.
Hands posted, Princess Catherine has once again worn a perfectly tailored, gorgeous-looking beige suit to her visit to the University of East London. Meghan Markle's suit to Time 100 was ill-fitting and wrinkled.
Everything has changed at CBS. The ownership changed. The editorial leadership changed. The late-night support system disappeared. The entire broadcasting structure that once gave the Sussex household cultural backup has shrunk in a major way, and media insiders are noticing it fast. This was the core argument pushed during Dan Wootton's outspoken broadcast with P. Diner this week, where they broke down how the media realignment connects to the Sussex brand losing influence across entertainment, culture, and business circles. According to their analysis, this is not just about one canceled show or one executive change. They say it's part of a much bigger shift happening across American media power centers. The Ellison family takeover of Paramount Global, including CBS, is being viewed by many commentators as a major political and cultural pivot. Larry Ellison, the Oracle founder, alongside his son David Ellison through Skydance Media, officially closed the deal, and people inside the industry are already talking about the ripple effects on editorial direction and network priorities. Then comes Bari Weiss entering the picture. Weiss, known for founding the Free Press, brings a completely different media approach compared to the old CBS culture. Critics and supporters alike recognize that her style openly pushes back against the type of progressive celebrity protection that Harry and Meghan were often associated with during previous years of coverage.
Catherine actually has no interest. She doesn't want to do fashion. Meghan does, but it's just something that comes totally natural to her. And this has all resulted in a major new essay by Queen Esther, arguing that it's because of grace under fire, which is why Catherine is the future queen the world really needs.
And the Stephen Colbert situation made the shock even bigger. Colbert had spent years acting as one of the most reliable late-night voices, giving the Sussex household friendly treatment and mainstream cultural support. His show often framed Harry and Meghan in a softer, more sympathetic light while mocking their critics. But now that era is ending completely. CBS confirmed that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert would end in 2025, with its final broadcast planned for May 2026. That cancellation wipes out one of the strongest entertainment platforms the Sussex household had inside American late-night television. And this matters more than people think. Late-night comedy is not just entertainment. It helps shape public opinion, celebrity image, and political mood in mainstream culture. These shows influence how audiences emotionally react to public figures, scandals, and media narratives. Losing that kind of platform changes the game in a very real way. The Stephen Colbert program spent years acting like a reliable shield for Harry and Meghan. Whenever the Sussex household faced criticism, Colbert's show often leaned into supportive jokes, softer interviews, and friendly framing that helped keep them protected in mainstream entertainment culture. That is why the recent Saturday Night Live cold open shocked so many people. The sketch reportedly portrayed Meghan as an American terrorist holding Harry hostage. And the bigger story was not just the joke itself, it was the fact that major comedy television even went there in the first place. That kind of public framing would have been almost unthinkable a few years ago, when the Sussex household still had stronger cultural protection inside major media circles. The cancellation of Colbert's show now feels like the network-level version of that same shift. The comedy world that once gave Harry and Meghan consistent support is changing fast, and the safety net around their public image is looking weaker than ever. Yes, late-night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers still generally lean toward progressive commentary and celebrity-friendly coverage, but neither carries the same influence or cultural authority that Colbert built over the past decade.
Mr. argues there's a reason Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues to command public respect, even during the most difficult periods of her life. And it has very little to do with titles, photographs, or palace PR. It's the way she carries herself when the spotlight becomes unbearable.
His platform had become one of the biggest mainstream entertainment spaces where Harry and Meghan could expect favorable treatment and public sympathy. Commentators like Dan Wootton argue that this media realignment has direct consequences for the Sussex household's future business position in America. For years, the couple's brand benefited from a media environment that framed them positively and helped shape audience perception in their favor. Without that support system, every project now faces a much tougher audience reaction. The problems are already stacking up. The Netflix relationship has reportedly cooled compared to the early hype. The Spotify partnership ended badly and became a public embarrassment. Their consumer brand projects continue struggling to generate consistent excitement or major commercial success. And now, all of those business issues are happening while the media environment around them grows more skeptical and less protective. That creates a cycle that becomes harder to escape. The weaker the media support gets, the harder it becomes to build excitement around new projects. And when projects underperform, media criticism grows even louder. One problem starts feeding the next, creating pressure from multiple directions at the same time. Another important piece of this story involves Gayle King and CBS Mornings. King remains publicly friendly with Meghan and still has ties to the Sussex social circle in America. That relationship has not disappeared. But insiders say the bigger issue is the environment around her has changed completely. Even if personal friendships still exist inside CBS, the leadership structure, editorial direction, and overall network priorities are now operating differently under the new ownership and management setup. That means the support system surrounding those relationships no longer carries the same power it once did. The institutional backing that previously helped protect or amplify positive Sussex coverage inside CBS has reportedly been weakened in a major way.
Every disappearance from public view became a headline. Every silence was treated as suspicious. Social media dissected her marriage, her health, her appearance, even her whereabouts, with a level of entitlement that at times became genuinely disturbing. And yet through it all, she still refused to turn herself into a victim. That is what makes Catherine different from so many modern public.
So while individual allies may still remain inside the network world, the larger media machine around them is no longer working the same way, and that shift could have huge consequences for Harry and Meghan moving forward. Meghan Markle's recent NBC boycott is now being described by some commentators as a huge strategic mistake. According to P, Diner's breakdown. NBC was actually the media space most naturally aligned with the Sussex household's public image and messaging over the last several years. NBC, along with MSNBC, The Today Show, and the wider Comcast media structure, has often been viewed as one of the strongest mainstream outlets for progressive celebrity narratives and sympathetic royal coverage. That made it one of the most valuable broadcasting environments available to Harry and Meghan. But after Meghan reportedly pulled back from NBC over coverage the household viewed as unfair, the situation suddenly became much more complicated. Critics argue the move effectively cut off access to one of the last major American networks, still capable of giving the Sussex brand broad cultural support at a time when their media options are already shrinking fast. What makes the timing even more dramatic is that CBS, once another key support zone for the couple, has also gone through major internal changes. So now, according to this analysis, the Sussex household may be facing reduced influence across both of the biggest mainstream network ecosystems that previously offered them softer treatment and positive exposure. And that creates a serious pressure point. Media support matters when celebrities are launching projects, negotiating partnerships, or trying to keep public momentum alive. With Netflix questions hanging in the air, the Spotify fallout still remembered, and business ventures struggling to generate major excitement, losing strong network relationships could make rebuilding much harder. Diner's argument goes even deeper than network politics, though. The analysis claims the real issue may be Meghan's approach to handling criticism and public conflict. According to this view, emotional reactions and public disputes with media outlets may be hurting the household's long-term strategy more than helping it.
In discussing her recovery, she focused more on encouraging others facing cancer than turning herself into the center of the story. No warrior branding, no demand for the world to revolve around her pain, just honest perspective and quiet empathy.
The argument is simple but sharp. When a public brand is already under pressure, every major media connection becomes valuable. Walking away from networks, fighting with outlets, or responding publicly to every perceived slight can slowly reduce the number of places willing to provide favorable coverage or promotional opportunities. Commentators pushing this theory argue that a more strategically disciplined celebrity approach would focus on maintaining working relationships everywhere possible, even with platforms that sometimes deliver uncomfortable headlines. In today's media world, access itself is power. That is why some analysts believe the Sussex household's current challenges are not only tied to changing politics inside television networks, but also tied to how the couple navigates those changes publicly. In this reading, the pressure is coming from both directions at once, a shifting media landscape and strategic decisions that may be narrowing options even further. The broadcast also introduced a major comparison between Meghan and Catherine, Princess of Wales. That contrast was built around the now widely discussed Queen Esther essay circulating through royal commentary spaces online. The essay, written by a well-known royal commentator using a pen name, focused on how Catherine handled intense public attention during her cancer treatment period. Supporters of the comparison argue that Catherine's quieter and more controlled public response created a very different perception compared to the louder celebrity media conflicts that often dominate headlines around Harry and Meghan. The essay's main argument about Catherine, Princess of Wales, centers on one big point: she handled her cancer diagnosis in a way that avoided turning it into a public performance. According to the analysis, she did not build a victim narrative around herself, push dramatic warrior branding, or make every public moment revolve around her personal struggle. Instead, Catherine addressed the public speculation with one calm and carefully delivered video message that immediately changed the tone of the conversation. After that, she reportedly shifted attention toward encouraging other people dealing with cancer rather than constantly revisiting her own situation in public. Supporters of this approach argue that she stayed focused on stability, family, and her long-term royal responsibilities instead of trying to turn the experience into an ongoing media storyline.
The monarchy doesn't need louder personalities competing for attention every day. It needs someone who understands that real leadership is often understated. Someone who can remain steady even when the pressure becomes deeply personal. The attacks will probably continue because social media thrives on outrage, conspiracy, and division. But maybe that's also why so many people connect with Catherine. Not because she demands sympathy, but because even in the middle of something frightening and deeply personal, she still carried herself with restraint, empathy, and grace.
That level of restraint is what many commentators say separates her response from the modern celebrity playbook. The essay claims that today's public figure culture often rewards people for turning personal hardship into continuous emotional content. Social media, interviews, documentaries, and public campaigns can all become part of a cycle where personal pain keeps audiences emotionally engaged for long periods of time. But according to this analysis, Catherine took the opposite route. Rather than extending the story for attention or public sympathy, she kept the messaging limited, controlled, and calm. The result, supporters say, is that audiences view her as disciplined and steady instead of performative. The essay argues that this creates a deeper kind of public loyalty. People are not constantly being asked to emotionally participate in her struggle or repeatedly prove their support online. Instead, they simply observe her composure and consistency over time, and many respond to that with respect. In this interpretation, Catherine's public image becomes stronger precisely because she asks less from the audience emotionally. There is no endless demand for sympathy, no dramatic overexposure, and no attempt to keep the public emotionally hooked on every detail of her personal life. The broadcast then shifted into fashion comparisons as another example of the same pattern. During a recent University of East London appearance, Catherine wore a clean beige suit that blended naturally into the event without becoming the center of attention. Commentators noted that the tailoring looked polished and effortless, which meant people focused more on the engagement itself than the outfit. Meghan Markle's appearance at the Time 100 event was used as the contrast point in the discussion. Critics online heavily analyzed her suit choice, with some social media users calling the outfit wrinkled or poorly fitted. The broadcast argued that the difference reflects two completely different approaches to public presentation. According to this commentary, Catherine's style works because it appears secondary to the purpose of the event itself. The focus stays on the institution, the message, and the engagement. Meghan, meanwhile, is portrayed by critics as placing much heavier emphasis on fashion image and celebrity presentation, which can lead to harsher scrutiny whenever the execution does not land perfectly in public opinion. The broader argument from the broadcast is that these differences are not just about clothes or media moments. They reflect two completely different strategies for managing public attention and personal branding in the modern celebrity era. The broadcast argued that the final result almost flips expectations upside down. According to the commentary, the person who appears most focused on fashion and image ends up receiving the harshest criticism over presentation, while the person who seems less obsessed with style often comes across more polished and natural in public. The analysis claims this happens because long-term discipline and consistency create a stronger overall image than constantly chasing attention through appearance alone. In this framing, Catherine's public style is seen as steady and functional, while Meghan's approach is viewed by critics as more image-driven and heavily managed. A major part of this discussion came from the independent royal commentary platform, Meghan's Mole, which has become known for posting side-by-side video comparisons of Meghan and Catherine during similar public engagements. Those comparison clips are now spreading widely across royal discussion spaces online. The format is simple but powerful. Instead of long commentary segments, the videos place both appearances next to each other and allow viewers to make their own judgments by directly watching body language, interactions, clothing presentation, and audience reactions in real time. According to supporters of the format, that approach works because it removes heavy narration and lets the visual contrast speak for itself. The audience watches synchronized clips and naturally forms opinions without needing dramatic voiceovers or aggressive editing to push a conclusion. The broadcast claimed this side-by-side style has become one of the most effective tools in online royal commentary because viewers feel like they are observing the differences firsthand rather than being told what to think.
It's so interesting, P. Dinah, though, when you compare to how they react so differently when the times are tough, when the criticism is high. And the irony with all of this is that it's Meghan Markle who has always claimed, oh, she doesn't read anything. She's not looking at the newspapers. She's not looking at social media. Now, we know that's baloney, right? Because she so immediately hits back. And we've seen that in recent weeks.
One of the stronger reactions highlighted in the discussion came from critics who argued the contrast reflects two very different public energies. One centered on genuine interest in people, and another viewed as more focused on branding and commercial image building. That interpretation has become increasingly common in certain royal commentary circles online. The conversation then shifted toward another issue that commentators believe affects Meghan's standing in entertainment, culture, humor, and self-deprecation. According to P. Dinah's analysis, this may be one of the biggest reasons parts of Hollywood and mainstream comedy have become less supportive over time. American comedy culture often rewards celebrities who can laugh at themselves, public figures who handle jokes calmly, play along with satire, and avoid reacting defensively, usually maintain stronger relationships with audiences and entertainment platforms over long periods. Many major stars survive criticism because they understand the game comedy shows tease everyone. Being able to roll with those moments often helps celebrities appear more relatable, confident, and emotionally secure in the public eye. But critics argue Meghan struggles in that environment because jokes about her are often interpreted as deeply personal attacks rather than normal celebrity satire. According to this reading, public pushback, media disputes, and defensive reactions can sometimes amplify the criticism instead of diffusing it. The broadcast argued that this creates a difficult cycle inside entertainment culture. Every new comedy sketch, headline joke, or online parody becomes a bigger story because audiences sense tension around the reaction itself. In the eyes of these commentators, the issue is not just the jokes. It is whether a public figure can comfortably exist inside a culture where humor, criticism, and satire are part of everyday celebrity life. And they argue that perception may now be shaping how broader entertainment audiences respond to Meghan moving forward. According to P. Dinah and Dan Wootton, parts of the American entertainment industry have now reached a firm conclusion about Meghan after years of public controversies, media disputes, and difficult press cycles. Their argument is that Hollywood's patience has slowly worn down through repeated attempts to engage with the Sussex brand, and the mood around the couple has shifted dramatically over time. The next major move, they predict, could be a public vow renewal event, and they believe it would be designed less as a romantic milestone and more as a large-scale commercial media project. The reported framing behind this rumored event is that Harry and Meghan may present it as a chance to finally experience the wedding celebration they deserved the first time around. After claiming the original royal wedding experience was overshadowed by pressure, criticism, and conflict involving the British press and royal institution. Critics, however, argue that this narrative would mainly function as emotional marketing. According to this analysis, the vow renewal storyline would allow Sussex-friendly media outlets, streaming platforms, and entertainment partners to build documentaries, interviews, sponsorships.
That it's always going to show itself to not be authentic and real because she's plotting everything. And that's not being a real person, you know? And Catherine is just someone that is thinking about other people. She's caring and wants to give good back to the world because of all the good that has come to her. And you can see she does it in a way that is real and authentic.
And branded content around the event in order to generate fresh attention and new revenue streams. In this reading, the vow renewal would not simply be about romance or marriage. Commentators believe it could become a commercial centerpiece designed to create headlines, secure media deals, and revive public interest during a period where the couple's business momentum appears weaker than before. The discussion also tied this idea to broader financial pressure surrounding the Sussex household. Analysts pushing this theory argue that shrinking partnerships, reduced media support, and inconsistent commercial success may be forcing the couple to search for larger emotional storylines capable of pulling public attention back toward their brand. What makes the entire debate even more controversial is the comparison to the original 2018 royal wedding. Critics point out that Harry and Meghan's Windsor ceremony was already one of the most globally celebrated and heavily produced weddings in modern royal history. The event took place at St. George's Chapel inside Windsor Castle, with enormous institutional support and worldwide media coverage. Reports at the time estimated total wedding costs at roughly £32 million, with security expenses making up the overwhelming majority of that figure. The global audience reportedly reached billions of viewers, turning the ceremony into a massive international television event. The Sussex household received historic royal settings, worldwide attention, and broadcasting power that very few public figures could ever realistically access. Because of that, critics argue it becomes difficult to convince many viewers, especially in Britain, that the original wedding was somehow denied the grandeur, support, or public attention the couple wanted. For audiences who watched the event unfold in real time, the scale of the celebration is still very fresh in memory. That is why commentators say any future vow renewal narrative would likely be aimed more toward international and American audiences, rather than the British public. The argument is that overseas viewers may be less emotionally connected to the details of the original wedding, and therefore more open to a reframed version of the story. The broader takeaway from the broadcast is that every new Sussex media project is now being analyzed through two lenses at once: public emotion on the surface and commercial strategy underneath. And according to these commentators, that tension is becoming harder and harder to separate. The Nicole Avant media situation became another example. Commentators used to argue that the Sussex household now spends huge amounts of energy reacting to negative headlines instead of controlling the bigger narrative. According to the discussion, after Daily Mail reporter Alison Boshoff published claims suggesting Nicole Avant had distanced herself from Harry and Meghan, a quick counter-story reportedly appeared through journalist Dominique Hines. That follow-up article painted Avant as one of Meghan's close supporters, mentors, and powerful allies within elite social circles. Critics argue the speed and tone of the response revealed a larger pattern. Instead of allowing unfavorable reports to fade naturally, the Sussex household is accused of immediately pushing back through friendly media contacts whenever damaging narratives begin circulating online or in the press. The broadcast claimed this creates a constant defensive cycle. Every negative article sparks another response piece, clarification, briefing, or image management effort. Over time, critics say this approach weakens the ability to drive a bigger long-term agenda because too much energy gets spent fighting individual headlines one by one. According to P. Diner's framework, this is where the contrast with Catherine, Princess of Wales, becomes especially noticeable. Catherine rarely responds directly to criticism or online speculation. Instead, her public schedule and institutional work reportedly continue without major adjustment, regardless of whatever commentary dominates social media or tabloid headlines. Supporters of that approach argue it projects stability and confidence because the agenda appears independent from the daily news cycle. The work continues, the messaging stays controlled, and there is little visible reaction to every controversy happening around her. The broadcast then shifted back toward Meghan's reputation inside Hollywood and television circles. According to P. Diner's analysis, many industry professionals now reportedly view Meghan as a difficult public figure to manage during appearances, interviews, and promotional events. The commentary claimed that production teams behind talk shows and industry functions have privately struggled with the level of attention, accommodation, and control expected during certain engagements. Critics argue the core issue comes down to perception and expectations. According to this interpretation, Meghan enters many professional spaces expecting treatment that matches a very high personal sense of status and importance. But the entertainment industry may no longer view her with the same level of excitement or influence it once did during the peak of the Sussex media frenzy.
So it's just so tragic and sad. But, Harry's going to one that's going to, like I said, pay the price for it at the end of the day. But they do need to continue to rise above it, the monarchy, and just try to continue making the people their focus. Because Meghan is going to always try to find something to do.
That gap between expectation and industry reception is what commentators believe creates tension behind the scenes. The argument is not necessarily political. Instead, critics frame it as an operational issue involving production logistics, event management, media coordination, and celebrity hierarchy inside Hollywood culture. As a result, some analysts believe enthusiasm for booking or collaborating with the Sussex household has cooled significantly over the last few years. And now, with major broadcasting networks also going through leadership and editorial shifts, the external support system around the couple may be shrinking at the same time. The broadcast argued that this combination creates a much tougher environment moving forward. Less industry enthusiasm plus reduced institutional media protection could make it harder for Harry and Meghan to maintain the same level of cultural influence they once held in America. Still, commentators pointed out that alternative media channels remain available. Platforms like Substack, podcasts, YouTube, and independent digital publishing continue growing fast, and many public figures are now bypassing traditional television networks entirely to speak directly to audiences. According to the discussion, the real question is whether the Sussex household can successfully adapt to that new media landscape, or whether the challenges surrounding their mainstream industry relationships will continue following them into independent platforms as well. The final argument from the broadcast is that switching platforms alone will not magically solve the Sussex household's bigger problems.
But she can't do it, and that's why she comes off so poorly, because she can't make fun of herself. She takes herself way too seriously, I think, and this is why she's always so upset about what people say and joke about her. This is Hollywood. This is comedy. You need to try to lighten.
Commentators pointed out that independent platforms like Substack still require many of the exact same skills needed to survive in mainstream television and entertainment media. Success on those platforms depends on consistency, audience trust, emotional control under criticism, and the ability to keep people engaged over long periods without relying on giant institutions to protect your image. Creators have to face public reactions directly, deal with criticism in real time, and continue producing content without constant defensive battles. Critics argue that Harry and Meghan have struggled with several of those pressures, even while operating inside major media systems backed by powerful networks, celebrity allies, and streaming platforms. Because of that, some analysts believe moving into alternative media spaces may not automatically produce better outcomes. According to this reading, the issue is no longer just about access to television channels or media partnerships. The deeper challenge may involve strategy, public perception, and how the Sussex brand responds under pressure when public opinion shifts against them. That is why commentators say all the recent developments connect together into one much larger picture. The CBS leadership shakeup, Meghan's NBC boycott, the Catherine comparisons, the fashion debates, the rumored vow renewal discussions, the Nicole Avant response cycle, and Hollywood's reportedly cooling attitude toward Meghan are all being viewed as parts of the same broader trend. The argument is that the Sussex household is now operating in a shrinking environment on multiple fronts at once. Media support appears weaker, industry enthusiasm appears lower, commercial momentum appears less stable.
Problem she's got too, P. Dinah, is if you look at the American broadcasting landscape, In the past, her major ally has been the CBS network. Now, that is the network which broadcast her Oprah Winfrey interview. It is also the network where Gayle King, her friend and someone who is still considered to be part of her circle, broadcasts on CBS mornings and is quite a major force at the network.
And public patience in certain audience groups appears to be fading faster than before. Meanwhile, Catherine, Princess of Wales, is being framed by supporters as moving in the exact opposite direction. Her public approval remains strong, her institutional role continues growing, and her long-term positioning inside the monarchy appears more stable following the public response to her cancer announcement and later royal engagements. According to these commentators, audiences are increasingly comparing both approaches side by side and forming long-term conclusions about discipline, public behavior, consistency, and leadership style. The broadcast closed with a stark prediction. The pressure surrounding the Sussex household may continue intensifying over the next several years if current trends remain unchanged. Critics believe media opportunities could become more limited, commercial options may continue narrowing, and public scrutiny will likely grow stronger as the documentary record around the couple expands over time. At the same time, Catherine's public image is being described as increasingly reinforced by stability, restraint, and institutional continuity qualities royal supporters argue are becoming more important than ever in the next chapter of the monarchy. And with that, the debate around Harry, Meghan, and the future of the royal media battle is clearly far from over. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with others following the royal drama, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.